Well, here it is at last, the Ultimate Collector Series Jabba's Sail Barge from LEGO. I've been hearing about this set for years now, I think. Rumors of it anyway. People have been saying it's going to be coming out, Well, it finally did several weeks ago, and I got it as soon as it was available from Lego.com. Now, as I say, it's been several weeks since I got this. I have not been able to even open the box for various reasons. Didn't really have time to put it together, but I think the time has finally come, and we can actually open it up, see what's inside, and hopefully get this assembled in not too long of a time. This is a pretty beefy set at nearly 4,000 pieces. This is a big box. It's big and heavy. I don't know if you can really tell, but if we take the universal standard of measurement, which is the vintage Jabba, you can see it is about, what, 2.25 vintage Jabbas long. And if we look at the top, which I'll have to change camera viewpoints for, you can see that it is actually a little bit more than a vintage Jabba deep. So I hope that helps. Anyway, we're going to take a quick look at this box, open it up and see what the insides look like, and then I'm going to assemble it off camera. I'm not going to try and do any kind of time lapse or anything like that. It's a little too much for me, and I think there are other channels that do a better job than I could. But after that, we're going to look at it in pretty close detail and compare it to the previous sail barge releases. If you may recall, there was one, the original one, was released in 2006, and then there was another one after that in 2013, which is more than 10 years ago. Hard to believe. Man, I still remember buying that one. And in addition to that, I'm going to show the custom sail barge that I made using Baron Sat's instructions and buying stuff off of Bricklink to just make it all from scratch, essentially. And we'll see, how they all compare in terms of size, features, and appearance. So let's go ahead and get into it. This box, as I say, is quite large. If we tip it upwards, you can see just how deep it is. And it's got, in various languages here, Jabba Sail Barge, and a list of the included minifigures as well. On the side, we just got a front shot of the barge, and then on the back we have some nice shots of the inside of the barge with the kind of, flaps opened up so you can see the interior, as well as some pictures. A little bit strange, honestly, because they've mixed interior pictures of the actual Lego barge with just pictures from the movie Return of the Jedi. I don't it seemed like these should all just be pictures from the interior of the barge to me, but who am I to judge? Yeah, so that's basically it. We're going to go ahead and open this sucker up right now. And so I guess I'll just take some scissors and cut the tape. There we are. Ooh, look at that. We've got a nice shot of the barge inside, hidden. And if I can get this in position, look at that. There's Jabba and Leia on the inside flaps. I really like this attention to detail, I have to say. Wow, look at here. There's a giant Max Rebo on the inside of this. I don't know if this is like an interior box, just part of it. I'm going to have to move the camera, I think, and slide this guy out. This is a little tricky. All right, here we are, the first box. Yeah, so it's an interior box. This is box number 1. It's got Max Rebo on the bottom and on the top. So that's pretty cool. Go ahead and take that out. And if we look deeper in there, I don't know if you can see, Salacious Crumb is greeting us. So far, unboxing experience is pretty awesome. They could have easily just made these plain black or something, but they took the time to put some appropriate photos on there, so I really do appreciate that. And that's it. There's these 2 interior boxes, and then the outer box is just empty. All right, we'll go ahead and open up these interior boxes as well. This is box number 1 with Max Rebo on the top. I don't know if I'm going to just dump out all these bags, because it might be a little much, but we'll take a look at what is in here. Yep, we got all of this stuff. Wow. And then there's this sort of envelope with the instructions. Very, very thick instructions, I must say. Look at that. 2 booklets, quite heavy. And there's also some stickers as well. So, like I said, I think I'm just going to leave these in here. Not much point in taking them out, probably. Although, I am kind of interested in the... well, what do we got here? Oh, those are the sails, I bet. And then I was going to say I'm interested in the minifigures. I don't know if these are easily accessible or not. They're kind of going to... Oh, we do have the plaque. That's very cool. So yeah, we'll just, I think, leave that in there. I am going to open up the second box, though, just to see if there's anything different inside that. Open this sucker up, and yeah, more bags in there. Not too surprising. So, I mean, this is bag number 36. So that gives you some idea of how many there actually are in here. I'm going to go ahead and yeah, get started assembling this, and I'll see you in a little while. And here we have the assembled sail barge. Now, as I alluded to at the very beginning of this video, this took me a long time to get to this point for various reasons. It took me a while to actually assemble this. You know, it was the holidays shortly after I purchased this last year, and I kind of, you know, kept putting it aside. I was like, well, I'll get to this a little bit later. Took me, I don't know how long, a couple months at least, before I even started building it. It didn't take that long to build. It's not that complicated. I did, however, have a few little issues. There are a few cases where it's kind of possible to get off track if you're not careful building something. It's not always obvious as you're going through what part you're even building. And so there were a few cases where I was like, you know, building along, and then I got to a certain point, I was like, oh, I actually have to go back a number of pages because I put something in, you know, slightly the wrong place. But generally speaking, yeah, it was a fairly enjoyable build, and I think it's well designed. I'm not fully up to date on everything that LEGO is doing with their Ultimate Collector Series stuff and so forth, but this is the first one that I've had that has these little stands for your minifigures, and I really like this idea. You know, if you want to have, for example, your sail barge kind of on a, you know, like a pedestal or a shelf or something like that, and display it a little bit more like a model or an art piece or something like that, instead of having your guys posed in various places, you can do that with this. I think it's looks really cool, and especially with something like the sail barge, you know, a lot of the stuff is going to be on the inside. A lot of the minifigures would be on the inside if you were going to put them where they're supposed to go, like, you know, Jabba, as you'll see in a little bit, would be in his throne room area. And if you wanted to have the sail barge displayed like this, which I think a lot of people might want to, so, you know, not all opened up, then you wouldn't be able to see them at all. But with these little display things, you can. Now, if we look at over here, Jabba comes with his own little stand that he can be displayed on, as well as a plaque. These kind of plaques are kind of standard now with the Ultimate Collector's Series LEGO sets. It has some information about the sail barge and, you know, where it came from and its various specifications. Jabba himself, as I say, has this little area right here. It's got a stud that he can rest in, kind of keep him in place. And then on the right-hand side, we've got a 25 years of LEGO Star Wars commemorative brick, which is actually pretty cool. 25 years, that's a long time, come to think of it. Jabba himself, you will probably be able to tell if you've seen the other Jabba's Palace-related sets that LEGO has released in the last, like, you know, 10 or 15 years, is essentially the same figure that we got with those sets. However, if we compare it to The one, I believe this one here is the one that came with the last sail barge. You can see that there are, in fact, some differences. This one, the new one, has darker wrinkles on his body and, you know, elsewhere, whereas this one is more of a brown color and harder to see, but also the wrinkles themselves are completely different, which is kind of cool, and that also extends to the faces here. They have different patterns of wrinkles, and the eyes are also different in appearance. So even though they're physically basically the same figure, they do look noticeably different, which is nice. You know, there's something unique about this Jabba, at least for the moment. It comes with 9 other minifigures, which you can see here, all nicely lined up on their little stand. Again, I like this idea pretty well. Some of these are not new, and some of them are new for this set, so I think it's probably worth looking at these one by one. Starting with C-3PO, he's kind of just the standard C-3PO minifigure, I think. I have seen ones, like the one that came with the Ultimate Collector Series Land Speeder, that look quite a bit better than this. They have, if you look at the leg, for example, this just has the silver leg kind of printed on with the paint, but the other one had, you know, a full-on silver leg, which I think looked quite a bit better. But you know, it's fine. It's not a bad figure. Here we have Bib Fortuna, and honestly, he's one of the more disappointing figures in the set, in the sense that instead of making a kind of more appropriate version for this, you know, Return of the Jedi version of Bib Fortuna, they have reused the Bib Fat Tuna version from Book of Boba Fett. This whole head thing with the fat Leku is from that set, and I don't really understand why, because they had a perfectly good one here. This is the one from the Jabba's Palace set from a while back. This head looks much better and more appropriate, in my opinion, than this one. I will say they did do a different design for his paint here on the front than was used in the Book of Boba Fett set, the Boba Fett throne room. So, I mean, there is that, but overall, kind of disappointing. If we take his head off, we can turn it around and see his alternate expression, kind of a dismayed look, and that is nice to have. Yeah, a little bit disappointing. If I'm going to be displaying this myself, well, I am I am going to be displaying this myself, and if I have enough left, I'm going to use this headpiece instead of that one, but I probably would use the rest of the body that came with the set. Next up we have Wooof, who is a green Nikto guard, and this is a new figure for this, or a new character, I guess I should say, for this particular set. He's got a new helmet, I think, that hasn't been used in the past, and new printing on his face and torso, so pretty cool addition, and definitely looks very kind of skiff, you know, appropriate, or sail barge appropriate. Now, if we take off his hat, we can turn around his face to reveal his other expression here, and then drop it. And he's also got a little bit of printing on his back as well. Max Rebo here is, I think, essentially unchanged from his debut in the last LEGO Sail Barge set in 2013, but that's not a bad thing. This is an awesome figure, and I think a lot of people like this figure quite a bit, and it's got a fairly high resale value from what I understand. You may have seen the video about a large 3D printed version that someone made for me that I'm really happy to have in my collection. Just a really cute little guy all around. And we'll take a look also at his organ or piano inside the barge a little bit later on. Next up we have Kithaba, who's one of the skiff guards, basically, and they did make a previous version of this that was included in one of the skiff sets. That's what you see right here. And you can see, well, they're very similar. I'm not even sure I could say for sure which is superior, but they are distinct from one another here. You can see most of the details are different, including the hat. I think the hat is probably the nicest change, because this looks a little bit too much like a gnome's cap or something like that, whereas this one, the cap sort of carries through his head as if it were, more just of a bandana, which I like. On the back, again, pretty similar though, but, they look good. Either one of these would, I think, look good on the barge, to be honest with you. Next up, we have Leia, Hutslayer Leia, Slave Leia, however you want to refer to her as. And I'm very glad that we did get this figure in this set. A lot of people said to me that they thought that we'd never get any kind of Leia in this, this version of Leia ever again. No figures or any kind of collectibles at all. And, in a way, it's kind of surprising that Lego, a kind of a kid-centric company, would be the first to put one out in many years. But here we are. Now, I think it's perfectly fine. It makes sense. It would be weird, very weird, not to have a Leia like this in the sail barge set. And also, it's an adult targeted item given its price point. So I don't really think you can make the argument that it's somehow a bad influence for children or something. One of the reasons I'm really glad that we have this one is that it is a new version of the figure, and I think it's an improvement. If we look at the previous one, this one came with the Jabba's Palace set from a number of years ago. Neither one is bad or anything like that, but I think I like the expression on the face on the new one better. I like the paint sort of in the front here better. I like the hair that has the braid coming down in the front instead of in the back better. So all around, I think it's an improvement. And the new one, well, they both had different faces. You can turn, this one around, and you got just a little bit of a happy neutral expression, I guess you'd say. Whereas on this one, you go from a sort of a cocky expression to a determined one, I suppose. Let's put that on there. So, overall, I would say this is definitely an improvement in just about every regard. The only thing I will say is that on the new figure, you can see on the side of her legs and on the back, the skirt color is carried over. It makes it look a little bit like she's wearing pants, whereas on here, it's just the leg cover. Even in the back, it's just leg skin color. And, I suppose they've done this to make it look a little bit less scandalous or something. I don't know. But aside from that, I'm pretty happy with this figure. Next, we have the Gamorrean Guard. As far as I can tell, this is exactly the same as the one that they released in the Boba Fett's Throne Room set, and probably earlier ones. I haven't really gone to, put them all under a microscope, but they look the same to me pretty much. This is the previous one, and this is the new one. They just seem to be pretty much straight up reissues, but that's fine with me. These are really good figures, and I don't really have any complaints about them. Next, we have Vizam, who I believe is a new character for minifigures. Not a huge amount to say about him, but he looks good. He has a interesting hat and just kind of plain brown legs. If you take off his hat, you can see he's got all these kind of horny things on his face, but he does not have an alternate expression. However, he does have some kind of wrinkles or ridges on the back of his head, which is interesting. So they did sort of anticipate possibly you removing his hat at some point. I'm pretty much using this guy as one of the pilots of the barge. Next we have Drink Serving R2-D2. There have been a lot of versions of this one, but this is a very nice version, I would say, and especially because of these cups. You can see the cups look like they have liquid in them. They have two colors, an outer translucent color, transparent color, and then some kind of liquid-like substance in that. And I think it looks really good. It looks, it's about as realistic as you can expect a Lego figure to be. And his paint also is quite well done, so no complaints here for R2. Finally, we have Salacious Crumb. He is essentially just a one-piece rubbery figure and not a true minifigure, but I'm including him in the list of minifigures. They did slightly redo this one for this set, but I can't really figure out why. If you compare him to the previous one, this is from, I think, well, I'm not even sure which one this is from. This is from one of the last ones that included Salacious Crumb, probably the Jabba's Palace set. It's, it's the same, I think, basic sculpt, but the paint is different, and if you look at the paint on the new one, you can see that his eyes don't have any pupils in them, and they look kind of weirdly soulless, whereas the one from before looks, more or less normal like you would expect, and I don't understand why they decided to go with that look. Aside from that, seems fine. But yeah, a little bit of a head scratcher there. So that's all of the included minifigures. There are some omissions that, you might have expected to see in a set like this, but the thing is, a lot of those were included in other sets, like the recently released Skiff set and some earlier ones, and I guess LEGO, to some degree, must think that people who are likely to buy this kind of set might already have a lot of those other characters from the previous sets. So, as a kind of a bare minimum crew, I think it's fine. And now, at long last, it's time to look at the barge itself. I think this is by far the most accurate looking of the LEGO sail barges, including the custom one that I made and will be looking at in comparison with this later on in the video. It just has the proportions looking right. Unlike the previous smaller scale sail barge, it doesn't have the sails sitting up too high. I said when I reviewed that one a while back that I thought they probably did that so that you could actually have minifigures, under there and play with them and stuff like that. But because this set is twice as big as the last sail barge in terms of length anyway, it's about 30 inches long, you can get them in there and still have them look appropriate. So that's pretty cool. Now, basically there's two sections of this. You have the upper deck here, and then you have the interior. The interior you access by folding down these panels. There's 3 on each side. You can fold them both sides down in the same way, and this allows you to access the various parts of the ship. And here's the other side. When you're folding it down, you need to kind of fold this rudder, or whatever the heck this thing is, underneath. And there we go. We can fold these down as well. There's not really anything to access on this side, however. So I don't know, how much use you're actually going to get of folding these ones down. But at least it does allow you to access the other side of the pilot's chamber here, the cockpit. This section of the ship, which is the throne room, has windows that can be opened like this. In fact, you can open all of them, basically. Like that, or you can just have some of them cracked open. None of these are opening, though. These sails, by the way, are made of more of a fabric-y kind of material, like the original sail barge from 2006, rather than the shiny plastic from the last version. And I think, honestly, this is a better solution. You can move the sail barge sails up and down like this. You can turn them if you want to access something in here, or you can also just remove them thusly. And, if you're going to be doing much in the way of actual play on here, I would probably just remove them to get them out of the way and then put them back when you're done. So we'll go ahead and do that here. So if we look at the upper deck portion here, you can see it's pretty large. You can fit a lot of minifigures up here, and it's got some nice detail as well. I really like this railing that they've done with these rods, and they've got, like a stair or ladder going up. They've got various details like this that I'm not even sure what they are exactly, but they do seem to correspond to things that existed on the actual sail barge set, which is cool. You get a couple of these brick-built cannons that you can put anywhere onto this railing. It just clips on, and then you can, put a minifigure there behind it, which is pretty cool. And speaking of guns, we also got this, which is the main deck cannon that Leia uses to destroy the ship. Spoiler alert. I think probably you're supposed to have her actually on the side here on this little platform, but you could have her behind it as well. In addition to these things, we also have some things on the deck that open up. So like right here, there is this section which, if we remove, reveals a hole down into the ship that you can have people, pop up out of or climb down into, and some opening doors as well, which is a pretty cool little detail. I also like this stairway going up as well. And if we look at this section, the same thing basically is true here. We have these shutters that open up into the interior of the ship. I also really like these details here on the front section. We have some wires which do correspond to some wires on the actual sail barge. These are actually Indiana Jones style whips that they've repurposed, which is always fun to find things like that. And they've got some other stuff over here. So it does, I think, look pretty good, and it's got a nice amount of play features as well. Now, the top here, and the section we just looked at over there, is split up into two sections, and you can lift it off like this to access the inside of the ship. So we're going to go ahead and look at that right now, I think. There are four main sections on the inside of the ship that we're going to look at here. First of all, we have a cockpit section. There's seats for two minifigures to fit there, as well as a lot of nice details for the instrumentation and so forth. I think it looks pretty cool. We never actually saw this part of the ship in the film, of course, so it's just kind of up to Lego to imagine what it might have looked like. But I think also we're going to see on the inside of this ship that they've probably taken some hints both from Hasbro's HasLab sail barge and from some of the cutaway books that have been published showing insides of various Star Wars ships and things like that. And unlike the previous sail barge, this does not have like a cannon or anything hidden underneath it. In fact, there's nothing really accessible under there. Now, the next section is going to be the brig. We have a tiny little jail cell, which was also included in the previous sail barge, although it took up the entire interior of one part of the barge, whereas here it's just off in the corner. We have a bunch of racks for weapons and things like that in the back. We have this stairway that goes up and will come out of the top section that we already saw. Not a bad little addition here. And there's also, places if you want to station a Gamorrean guard there, you can put them on like that. So pretty cool. Right next door, we have the galley, I guess you'd call it, the kitchen. And in here, we also have a set of stairs that will go up and out of the top section. We've got a lot of detail in here, a lot of food items and cooking implements and things like that. It is a little weird, as I said, I think with the previous sail barge, that this would be such a large portion of the ship, but I guess when you're carrying around a hut, you do need to be able to feed them. Here we have the throne room area. This is quite a bit smaller than what we saw in the film, in that there's basically no room to have a lot of aliens kind of milling around like you saw in Return of the Jedi. You just have enough room for the throne and maybe a couple aliens in front of it, but still, it looks pretty good. They've used some rounded shapes here to replicate the kind of pillow-like throne that he used on the sail barge, so that's cool. And also over here, instead of the frog bowl, he has the microphone that they used to talk to the rebels outside the ship. Over here you can see they've included that sort of stone tablet, stone carving that appeared in Jabba's sail barge in the movie. Disney made a replica of this that I made a video about a while back, but yeah, it's really cool that they included this little detail, although the way they've portrayed it is a bit different than the actual one. And here, if you look, you can see you can also go from the throne room into the kitchen as well, which is nice, I'm sure, for Jabba getting his little snacks. Over here in the back, we have a little kind of chest that you can put things into. I've put the chain that you can use for Leia, which I'm not using right at the moment. And that's pretty much it. Over here we have a little alcove for Max Rebo's piano that we're going to look at in just a minute. But yeah, let's go ahead and put some figures in here and see what they look like. So we'll go ahead and pop Jabba here on his throne and put Leia beside him like that. We can have Bib Fortuna maybe here on his little peg. And maybe in the background we'll have C-3PO. They don't have a dedicated space for Salacious Crumb really, but you can have them anywhere on the throne over here, so we'll just put him on like that. And then if you want to, you could put other guys like a Gamorrean guard perhaps right here, standing guard on the side. So I think that looks really cool. What do you think? I think it's worth mentioning that depending on your viewing angle, this kind of bar here will get in the way of viewing Jabba and his other guys here on the throne, which is a little bit annoying, to be honest with you. You have to sort of view it from either below or above, but if you're viewing it at an angle like this, it's actually kind of difficult to see. So if we look over here, we have a little alcove with Max's organ in it. I like this approach for the organ better than the one they did for the previous sail barge, which was kind of just it was brick built, but it barely looked like an organ. At least this way, they've got some stickers for you for the keys and things. You can just put Max there inside, and it also will, if I can get him in there. It is a little bit difficult to access. That's the little drawback, I would say. In fact, I have it. There you go. It can kind of turn around as well, and if we want to, I'll just go ahead and take it out so we can look at it. It does come out fairly easily, and you can see that they have added, stuff like the horn kind of thing on one end, some more detail than is typical for these things in Lego form. So not too bad, but yeah, it is a little bit difficult to access or to even reach in here. So to give you an idea of size, we have here the 3 commercially available Lego sail barges in chronological order. This was the original one from 2006, and then we have the 2013 one here, and finally the UCS one that I'm making this video about right now. You can see actually that the one from 2013 is noticeably smaller than the original, but it does, as I said in my review of that one, it does look better in terms of the the size. It's more of a sail bargey shape and everything. So I'm not really, I don't really have a problem with it being a little bit smaller. But you can see that there is a huge difference in size, especially between the UCS one and the more recent one from 2013. So I guess in that sense, you do feel like you're getting, something for your money at least. So here we have my custom version based on Baron Sat's instructions, and the UCS version. I've never, until this very moment, put them side by side, so I wasn't entirely sure how they would stack up relative to each other, but by my estimates, they look almost exactly the same size. It's actually pretty surprising. Maybe, they're a little bit different proportions, and, I think maybe the custom one is slightly wider, but very, very, very similar sizes. Might just be that they were both made to be about the right size, when you have minifigures on them and so forth. So, but still, it is interesting that they came out so close to one another. So in terms of my conclusion here, this is a very nice set. I do think $500 is really stretching it for something of this size and quality. I feel like, it's Lego, I understand that, but maybe $300, $350 would be more reasonable seeming. I keep going back to the fact that the original Hasbro HasLab sail barge cost the exact same amount, $500, and it is just in a totally different league in terms of how impressive it is. I realize it's it's a different product, but it's just so much bigger, so much more detailed. It is the ultimate sail barge collectible. Unfortunately, at this point anyway, the only way to get that is to pay a lot more than the original price on the secondary market. But I feel like it's a tough act to follow. Let's put it that way. But this is a good set. I think the average person, if I'm going to be totally honest here, would be happy with the smaller version from 2013, especially if it was around the original price of $120. I'm not sure what they're going for at this point. But one thing I will say, if you're thinking about getting this for your children or, as a play object, a toy, instead of more of a display piece, I would probably rethink that, because this is really quite fragile. Not as fragile as my custom one, but it's close. There are pieces, especially on the back section, that I kept having fall off, and it actually got kind of frustrating after a while. So there is that to consider as well. But anyway, that's my view of the Ultimate Collector Series Lego Sail Barge. Sorry it took so long to actually make this video, but better late than never, I guess. What are your thoughts about it? Have you thought about getting this? Luckily, this is still available in stores. It's even available at mainstream stores like Target.com, that kind of thing. So it's not too late to get one if you are interested. If it's something you think you might want in your collection, and to be clear, it does look really cool built and on the shelf. I think as a display piece, really, really cool. All right, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.